Hey guys, welcome back to another video over here on the Chinese Zodiac and Horoscopes. Today we're going to be doing a reading for you guys born in the year of the dragon. So welcome back my dragon friends, I hope we're doing all right. Okay, so today we're going to be doing something new, and for the foreseeable it's going to be my new way of doing cards. My idea is, instead of doing the 3-card spread, we are going to be doing a 9-card spread. And this is something that I started to do on Patreon, but I wanted to broaden my audience. I wanted to give this out as something for free. So I want to dive deeper into the Chinese Zodiac. So having a larger audience definitely helps that. And it's more about the enjoyment of it and the education and learning of it than it is trying to make money from it. However, if you would like to support me and my sort of ideas of getting my own Chinese Zodiac deck, because that's my plan, is I want to create, design and make my own Chinese Zodiac deck, then you can still join up on Patreon. The link is in the description below. Just give it a click, join up, but the videos will be here for free on YouTube. The Patreon is just for general support, just to support this channel as we now move forward. So if you would like to support that, then please do. My idea is that we're going to do 3 cards which will be the general reading, and then we're going to do 3 cards which will be for love and romance, and then 3 cards for careers and sort of money, finances kind of thing, which is 9 cards, which obviously means that the videos are now going to be longer. And because they're going to be longer, I just haven't got the time or the commitment or space to fit in such lengthy readings, 12 a week. So instead, from now on, I'm going to be doing a reading once a month near the beginning of the month. So this reading will be for the month of May, and then the next reading I do for the dragons will be in the beginning of June. That's my new thought going forward. So if you hit the subscribe button, you won't miss out on that. So you can always get those notifications to say when that video has come through. So I'm going to basically do what I've done for the previous videos, because I've done this a couple of times now, 4 times to be precise. So I am getting into a bit of a swing of things. However, I would just say try and bear with me, because I am still getting used to the kind of extra cards and doing it this way. But it will offer a more kind of in-depth reading, and it will offer a little bit more insight, I hope. At least many of you have reached out already, maybe not specifically dragons, though a couple of dragons, and have said how the readings are pretty much spot on, which is always encouraging. So we're going to carry on doing it, and we're going to hope that a 9-card reading will be just as helpful. So that's kind of where this is now headed. Right, let's get on and do the first reading. So just like always, we are going to close my eyes, shuffle these cards up and down, move them all around, and when we stop, we will have the cards for a general reading. So we're going to take that one from the bottom, we're going to take that one from the middle, we're going to take that one from the top. What have we got? Okay, so we've got 3 cards here. We've got the positive and the 2 negatives there. The negatives do outnumber the positives, but as I've said before, and this will always remain the same, black isn't always an attack and white isn't always all right. It's about the compatibilities of the cards when we turn them over, which we will do in a second. So there's the general reading. Now we're going to get a little bit more specific, and we're going to look at what we're dealing with in a kind of love romantic aspect and see what's on the cards for you guys. Let's move these around, see what we can get when we stop about there. And we're going to take that one from the bottom, we're going to take that one from the middle, we're going to take that one from the top. What have we got? Okay, so we've got 2 positives and a negative then, which we'll be moving on to after the general reading. Again, we could be enthusiastic and optimistic about this, sure, but white isn't always all right and black isn't always an attack, so we're not going to jump the gun just yet. The last shuffle I'm going to do is going to be 3 more cards, unless of course I just throw them around and just lose them. But again, as I said, you know, I close my eyes and then I give them a shuffle. And we're going to stop about there. And we're going to take that one from the bottom, we're going to take that one from the middle, and we're going to take that one from the top. What have we got for finance and cash? 2 negatives and a positive. So again, a bit of a mixed reading there with the negatives and the positive. But as I've said before, black isn't always an attack, white isn't always all right. What we're looking at is the compatibility. And the compatibility will be different for every single sign. That's the beautiful and unique thing about these readings. It's very individualistic, as I've said before. These readings aren't done in a conventional way. They're done based around compatibility between you and the card itself, your sign, the dragon. So we're going to move these 3 down here for the career reading. And then we're going to move these 3 down for the romantic love ooh la la reading. And then we're going to move these into the center because it's just easier for me when I do the editing at the end. And we're going to start off with these first 3. And the positive for the general reading, a white rabbit, change, something rapidly coming quite quickly towards you. Rabbits and dragons, moderate compatibility. They can get along, they can work together. I think right now you've done the right thing. What you're doing is the right thing. You're doing something that is good. You've made a good judgment call in this, though I do think that you're going to question that a lot. You're going to question that a lot because you're not leading the charge. You're not the dominant piece in the game here. You're not necessarily a pawn, but you're not the king or queen either. You're almost like you're the knight. You're the bishop. You're significant, but you're not the winning piece. You're not the piece that's going to win the game. I think that's going to irk you a little bit. It's going to give you a little bit of a reality check almost. But this change, this catalyst, this moment, it needs to happen, and it's going to happen quickly. So you'll have a small amount of time to adjust to it, and then it's just sink or swim. Sink or swim. And you're a dragon, so doing and improvising and solving problems comes naturally to you. So my sort of prediction would be is that you will adapt to it very well. You've decided to jump in, and that was a good judgment. That was a good judgment call. That was good. You should have done that. You should have compromised a little bit more, though. You should have compromised a little bit, perhaps, and asked for maybe, you know, a buoyancy aid if there was one available, or how long do you have to actually stay in once you've dived in? Because if it's a case of sink or swim, how long are you going to be swimming? You're just going to be down there just swimming around for circles for days, weeks, months. It's almost like you've been put in this place, and now you're going to have to exercise some patience. Again, I think it's going to irk you a little bit. We've got that rat card coming in there. That rat card is, of course, in your affinity triangle. It is compatible with you. It is a good card for a dragon person. It's a doer. Unfortunately, we have this negative aspect of things. We have hesitation. We have procrastination. We have this unwillingness to participate. You don't necessarily feel up. It's not like you don't feel up to the challenge. It's like you're thinking, well, what is the point then? I've been swimming around in circles now for a while. Is anybody gonna tell me what to do next? Is somebody gonna instruct me? Is there more to it than this? Is there rules to this? Because if the only rule is to sink or swim, I can only swim for so long. I can only keep going around a circle so long. So surely then, inevitably and eventually, I'm going to sink. So have you set yourself up for something here? Again, I would still stand by the kind of what I previously said about it was a good judgment call to jump in. The alternative would have been a bit of a disappointment. maybe. It wouldn't have worked out as expected. I think it would have had worse results than if you hadn't have jumped in, but you have jumped in and now you're in. It's almost like you're questioning, as I said before, you're going to question it. You're going to feel a little bit like, because you should have maybe compromised a little bit on this and said, okay, well, I'll jump in, but I'm only going to do this for half an hour. I'm only going to do this for this long. Again, setting some kind of time frame, setting some kind of thing. You need to stick to these things, because otherwise you are going to get taken advantage of. And you're a dragon, so once you realize that you're being taken advantage of, and you realize that, you know, you may be manipulated, or you may be being influenced, you are gonna push back on that. You won't stand for that. The issue that we have for dragons is they're not overly manipulative. They're not manipulative people. Now, some would say that's a good thing, right? That they're not manipulative. But the problem with not being manipulative is that they don't recognize when they're being manipulated. And because they're doers and they love to do, you love to do stuff, you just love getting stuff done, people will use that and manipulate that. And you may find that you're carrying a lot more than you should, or you will be picking up the slack a lot of the time, which again isn't necessarily a problem for a dragon person. It's just when you work it out, or it becomes a problem, when you feel disrespected, which I think is coming, it's incoming. You're going to feel almost disrespected in this eventually, and it's going to come to light, and you're going to think this is a mockery. You're just laughing at me, waiting for me to sink. And at that point, you're just going to get out the pool. You'll just get out the pool completely and walk away. Unfortunately, this heavy kind of choice or decision to make only comes into play if there is manipulation or some sort of darker forces at work here. Once once you figure it out if it is or it's not, then yeah, you're going to do something about it. But if we go back to the idea that, you know, you've made this judgment call, you've jumped into the deep end, now it's sink or swim time, and there is no sort of hidden agenda, it's for an actual gain. How long do you have to swim for before you actually get that gain? How much of this is going to cause you problems further on down the field? That dragon energy that you have is relentless, and you won't necessarily see an end game when you're focusing solely on the moment and what you're focusing on right now. That rat being a prepper, being prepared for the future, being somebody that is preventing problems rather than solving problems, is in that negative space, which means you're not looking forward, you're not thinking about the consequences. You're not thinking about sinking because you're focusing too much on swimming, and you don't even know what you're swimming for. At this point, what are you swimming for? It was a good judgment call to jump in, yes, but with no instruction, what do you do now? Flop around the place, floundering, because that's not going to serve you well in the long term. This isn't going to be something that's going to be resolved easily. This isn't something that's just going to go away. You're already wet. You're already in the pool. You're already swimming. And you should have thought about this when you jumped in. When they said, right, you've got to jump or stay here in this situation, and the better judgment call was to jump, you should have clarified exactly what it was that you were jumping for, or what you are. Let's take this metaphor away a little bit to not confuse things. But you know, what is it that you're working towards? What is it that you're waiting for? What is it that you're trying to build? What is it that you're trying to create here? What is it that you're trying to do with what you're doing here? Is it worth it, or is it just you putting on a show for no real results or any kind of benefit for you? You need to ask yourself, what benefit is it to you doing all of this circus acts and clownery, tomfoolery, you know, just doing this? Because from where I'm sitting, this is starting to look like you're wasting your time a little bit. The change had to happen. There's a catalytic moment. You'll learn from this, experience, wisdom, gain some kind of clarity or resolution from it, yes, but getting to that point does seem like it is not taking its time, but rather it's being wasted time. Rooster coming in though, the negative rooster, the black rooster, coming at a cost, potentially a high cost, because you're going to be your biggest critic right now. Now, this rooster is your soul card. It is part of your soul path. It's part of your journey. It means that you are on the path. It's just you may have taken too long to rest. You may have sat down and forgotten that you're actually on a path. You might have diverted a little bit. You might have ended up going backwards and doing a U-turn at some point, and now you're doubling back without realizing it. There is a cost here, and I think the cost isn't financial. I think the cost is more time, it's more effort, and it's more focus orientated. You are paying a price, and that price is your own self-respect, and that's what that rooster is representing. Yes, okay, it had to happen this way for you to learn this lesson, but how much more can you take? You're in the deep end now, don't forget, dragons. You are in the deep end. You have jumped in, and that's okay. You can handle that. I believe you can, but at what expense? What expense is it coming? And then you have to ask yourself the question, is it worth it? Is it worth it? That rabbit and the rooster are enemies. They are conflict cards in themselves, and we've got them both here. The rat in the middle being that referee, but what we've got here is not just a catalyst moment that's going to shake things up and be a bit disruptive. Yes, it's going to come in quickly. Yes, it's going to be very sort of thrust upon you, let's say. But once the dust settles and you've acted as quickly as you have, or did, or will, you are then going to find yourself continuing to pay for that decision. As I said, you need to ask yourself at that point, is it worth it? Was it worth it? I suppose we'll find out, won't we? When we come back in June and find out how you guys get on and pick up from here with another general reading. Next, I'm going to move these up and we're going to do your love and romance cards. Put those in the middle there. And again, we're looking at two positives and a negative. So again, we're not looking necessarily at the white and the black here, because white isn't always all right and black isn't always an attack. It all depends on those cards when we flip them over. So let's start with this first card in the love area. Oh, well, that's a little bit depressing, isn't it? I mean, it's not a black dog. I mean, let's not speak too soon, but dog is not a good card for dragons. Not a good card at all. We're looking at conflict, and we're looking at a lot of conflict. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I suppose, depends on your perspective, it's necessary. Very, very few times conflict is a necessary part of our journeys, and sometimes conflicts can be the reason that we get hindered or halted or, you know, end up slowing down and stopping. On the rare occasion, conflicts are actually the thing that excels us. And I think conflict in romance, relationships, marriages, and things like this, they're healthy to express yourself and communicate. The dog is a communicator after all, from that communicating, talking triangle. But those conflicts are going to be hard pills to swallow. The truths that you're going to have to focus are going to be hard. They're going to be painful. They're going to be something that you may have avoided because you don't want to talk about it, and that's where the conflict arises from. These things, and it may not even be you that doesn't want to talk about it. It could be the other person. It could be somebody else that is reluctant to talk about these things. It could be both of you, potentially. You're not talking about things. You're not communicating. You're closed off from each other. And in doing so, you're just making your own existences miserable. Again, it comes back to that kind of negotiation and that kind of talking about it and getting clarity before you jump in. Should have got some sort of understanding, or at least spoken about things, to avoid this point where now boundaries have been pushed, conflicts have been started, and the best thing to do is to communicate about it. Unfortunately, there is no communication happening. Unfortunately, the communication that is happening here is coming across as, I'd say, arrogance or belittling, or it's not coming across as diplomatic. It's not coming across as a win-win. It's coming across as a lose-lose, and you're not the type of person to lose, nor are you the type to lose-lose. If there is no winner, then what is the point? At least if you lose and someone else wins, there's competition there. There's actually a good chance, there's a 50-50 chance that you could be the winner. But if it's a lose-lose, then what was the point? Everybody loses, then where is the thrill? Where is the reasoning? Where is the justification or the enticement or incentive to continue? The dog isn't suggesting that it's going to be a lose-lose. You've got a good chance, but without talking about this, without really setting out the rules, without actually being able to discuss this in a healthy way, you're not going to be able to find that resolution. And if you do talk about it, you're going to have to expect, or, you know, if you try to communicate about it, you're going to have to expect that it's going to be hard, and there are going to be misunderstandings. There is going to be times when context needs to be given, and there's going to be times when honesty is the only foot forward, not just the best foot forward, but the only step forward. And I think a lot of that will stem from being honest with yourself. You've got to be honest with yourself. My lovely dragon friend, you need to be honest. White Rooster coming in. Soul card. Look, we are definitely on a journey here of where we're supposed to be. And I think relationship-wise, it's not the hindrance that the general reading is talking about, because they could be entwined. You know, the general reading here could be influenced or influence these major aspects of your life, the romance and love aspect or the money and career aspect. But I don't think that that's the hindrance here. I don't think that it's the U-turn that you've made, or the, you know, getting lost on your own journey. It's got nothing to do with the romantic aspect. I think that's on point. Even if you're single or in a relationship that you don't feel is going anywhere, there is hope. Is hope the right word? There is a reason for it. There is a reason. There is a reason, and the price that you're paying for your patience or compromise or boredom, or, you know, this small stuff is temporary. It's a very temporary thing for the long-term gain. Right now, you just need to sit it out a little bit and let it bloom. The seed has been planted. You know, if you're single, then you're supposed to be single at this point in time. If you're in that relationship, then you're supposed to be in that relationship at this time. The seed will be planted, and that plant will grow when it's supposed to and when it's meant to. Can't rush that. Of course, you could nurture the situation again by focusing on the conflicts, or sort of focusing on communication and talking about things. You could inspire a more healthier plant to grow from this, if you want to see it that way. But you've planted the seed. You've got to have that patience and the discipline to allow it to grow before you can take its entirety, plank it, and turn it into a ship, into a relationship. That's my little sort of analogy there. You take a seed, you plant it, it grows into a tree. You take that tree, you plank it, and you turn it into a ship. And then you set sail, and away you'll go. And all of this will take time and work and commitment and dedication. And just because it's a little bit rocky now, for the last couple of days, for a couple of weeks, how vain are you to expect, or how egotistical are you and pompous to expect that everything will just work out for you in your time frame when you want it to? If you, let's just say, for example, if you've got another 60 odd years left to live, that's a very, very long time. Okay? And if things aren't supposed to be in this place for the next 5 years, then 5 years is how long you're waiting, which is a very small snippet of time, when time in a universal capacity is infinite. So we are merely just a grain of sand on a beach, you know, this little fraction of time. And you're going to have to accept that. You're going to have to deal with that. You can't rush love. Just like you can't force it to happen. You can't make it happen. You can't make yourself love someone. You can't make someone love you. It's a natural occurrence, and you know it when it happens, and most of the time it is blind and it can come unexpectedly. And when you've got it there, it doesn't owe you a damn thing. It doesn't owe you anything. All you can do is nurture it and grow it, and hope that when you finally build a relationship from it, that ship again is able to float and doesn't sink. Otherwise, you might end up in the water sinking or swimming. But that aspect of things doesn't. I mean, we've got the dog conflict, but I think that's because you need the conflict in this to make it work, and that's healthy for this. Shutting down is not. Arguments are good. Get it out, because if it's meant to be, you'll be able to resolve it. There's nothing wrong with voicing yourself. There's nothing wrong with getting a little bit upset and a little bit frustrated and voicing your concerns, because if the person is meant to be your person, they will understand and they will support you, even if you offend them, even if it insults them, even if it hurts them, even if it's a hard truth. They have to accept that, just like you need to accept their criticism and you need to accept their way of response or what they say to you. To make it work, it's not about fighting over these differences and pointing blame for the problems. It's working together to find solution. There you are. It's just, you're not used to being a team player. That's the problem. I think as a dragon person, you've been let down many, many times, and you've always had to pick up that slack. What we're looking at here is another opposite, just like the general reading where the rabbit and the rooster were conflicts. We've also got another conflict here where the dog and the dragon, again, are conflicts. They're conflicting with each other. See, the dragon in you wants to shut down, shut everybody out, work on it on your own, solve your own problems, and distract yourself from things. But that's not the way. You're only going to implode eventually. You're going to create such an environment where you're seeping toxic fumes into an enclosed area, and it will just take one spark and that's it. It's going to explode. And the reason that you're not trying to resolve this or prevent this, I feel, is probably because even if that person were to say, oh, they're going to help, or they want to be a part of the team, or they want to work together, they want to help you solve this, they want to find resolution and be productive with this instead of creating resentment and animosity. They want resolution here. You're going to struggle to believe it. And I don't think you're going to believe it until it's done and they've been there the whole way through. I think you'd even question it if they sat down for 5 minutes and just said, oh, I just need a little break, and that's it. You're going, right, they need a break. They're not true to this. They're not fully dedicated to this. They don't want to, they don't want to participate anymore. But that's where it comes back to being that team player. You're on the same team. So support your partner and accept support from them. To resolve this, you're going to have to thrash it out a little bit. And then comes the fun bit. The making up. You've just got to be willing to try, basically, dragon people. Try. And we'll find out how you get on with that next time when we come back and do another reading for your love and relationship aspect. The last bit of the reading then will be the finance and business or workplace kind of orientated cards. So let's start with the negative. We'll flip this one over and we're going to start off with the snake. Nice and slow, but a compatible card for you, though it is in the negative. I think things are going to take a very slow start for you, but there is an affinity for success here. You can make it happen and you can achieve things here, and you can make it work for you if you put in that kind of dragon-esque, that you've got that dragon discipline and do to achieve attitude. Of course, it will be slow, which you're not going to like, because you're full of power, you're full of speed, you're used to getting on and doing stuff. Being slowed down, that can make you slow. I wouldn't say it makes you lazy, but it kind of, you don't rush. But just like the hare in the race of the tortoise and the hare, you sit down for too long and have a nap, you're going to get cozy in that position. You're going to end up just not wanting to carry on, and that's going to put you in a place not just financially difficult, but also for your own your own kind of being, like what makes you up, like what makes you. You are a doer, and a doer that isn't doing isn't necessarily a good sort of practice. It's not a good thing. It's not a good way to go about, especially for a dragon person. That when they do, they really do, and they can achieve great things. Yeah, okay, you don't have to do all the time, but it will keep you happier. It will make you happier. It will give you that sense of achievement and feed what you need to be fed. But it will be slow, and you can't expect results straight away. And if it doesn't feel right, move. If it doesn't feel as if you're going to get anywhere in one department, transfer to another. If it feels like you're not getting the results that you want, then you can always try again or try a different approach. You know, don't give up. Giving up here is just going to put you back to the start, and going back to the start is not a great place to be when you can excel in this. You can excel in what you're doing if you put your sort of mind to it. You could save up money. You could buy that thing that you've wanted to buy. You could go on a nice holiday. You could, you know, spend it on whatever you wanted to spend it on. But first you've got to get it. So giving up now won't be beneficial for you because you just won't get it. You won't get what it is that you could potentially get if you give up. Giving up is not an option. We don't give up around here. You're dragons. Dragons don't give up. It's just going to be quite slow, but please rest assured it will have favourable results. There's that tiger. You're not trusting it, though. That's the problem. You're not trusting things right now. The snake in the negative, the tiger in the negative, very suspicious. Even though they are compatible with you, you just don't trust it. Things don't feel right. And again, as I've said, if they don't feel right, move. Move. But that emotional attachment that you have, or that emotional baggage that you're taking to work with you, or that emotional baggage that's preventing you even getting to work or getting into work or changing that career path, that is going to be your downfall. That's going to be your downfall. But I think you're going to figure that out. I think you're going to figure it out. And when you do, you're going to snap out of it. I think right now, the problem with the dragon, just in this whole entirety, is that you've kind of forgotten that you're a dragon. And you've forgotten that you've got this dragon ability or superpower that not a lot of people have. And that's, you can overcome most things just through sheer determination, perseverance, and ego. And ego isn't always a bad thing. Ego is like a hammer. It can be something that can destroy, and it can be something that can be, you know, used to build, which means you have that choice and you can build from this. It's just happening very, very slowly. You're not really trusting it. Patience is the key here, but you're running out of it. What you need is a win. That's what you're kind of waiting for. It's what you're hoping for, is a win. You want a win. And it will happen. Got a catalyst card coming in. A card for change. The white goat. Now, between the goat and the dragon, or the sheep and the dragon, there is a good kind of compatibility. All right, it's not the best compatibility ever, but there is a good kind of acceptable relationship between the two. I think right now what you need to do is you need to be happy with what you've got and grateful for what you have, and be sensitive that although you're impatient and you think that it needs to be done quicker, there are those around you that potentially can't keep up with your speed. They can't keep up with what you're doing. They can't keep up with how you do things. And you need to accept that, and you need to allow that. You need to allow it for them to be able to catch up. Otherwise, it's not so much being a team player anymore at that point. You're just attacking your teammates and making them feel slow or not as good, or, you know, not as adequate or whatever, and that's going to knock them back and make them even slower or not want to participate, which then again will bring it back around to you. This is going to be a slow process. That goat card coming in is going to push things on a bit, and you're going to start to see maybe a few positive things come from this, but again, it's not going to happen overnight. Time is infinite in the world, or in the eyes of the universe, you know. Time will just carry on forever. So if you're not going to make it in this lifetime, you might just make it in the next. You just got to be, that's a long time to be patient for, isn't it? That's just silly. They're saying that and saying then you just got to be patient. But in reality, that's how it is. Unfortunately, time is infinite. So your ego or your vanity and you thinking, well, I want it now and I want it done this moment, it will happen when it happens. You just got more chance if you commit yourself to it, dedicate yourself to it, and don't push too much. Don't push too much. Keep pushing, but just bear in mind that there is a limit to how much you can actually push before it breaks and it all comes crumbling down. And as soon as it starts crumbling down, there'll be no putting it back again. But we'll find out, won't we, next time when I come back and do another reading for you guys born in the year of the dragon. My next reading will be for those born in the year of the snake. So if you're interested in what those guys are up to, maybe you've got a partner who is a snake, or you work with a snake, or your best friend's a snake, and you might want to see what they're up to. You might want to see if you can, you know, see where they're at this month. Then you can check that out next. And if you hit that subscribe button, you will get a little notification, I think, every time I upload a video, so you'll know who's been uploaded when. But as I say, this will be the dragon reading for May. The next reading I do for the dragons will be at the beginning of June. So I hope that you have a great month, and that it all goes well, and I will see you then. Thanks for watching. Love and peace.